Go to Senator Marshall. So, Senator Booker.
Thanks, Chairman, and thanks to all the panelists that are here. I'm really appreciating the testimony that has been given so far and a lot of the assurances. It's really encouraging. Look, our small business owners have to know that help is on the way. With the American Rescue Plan, this is an extraordinary opportunity for American entrepreneurs all around the country. And I'm grateful for Isabel Guzman and her leadership, and I'm grateful for the important work of everybody on the panel. Congress and the SBA, I think, should be praised for their work. Obviously, there are challenges in executing that we should address. And I'm concerned about the testimony today, particularly some of the mismanagement challenges that we faced. They have contributed to small businesses not getting the resources they needed, particularly underserved minority businesses that often end up falling through the cracks. My last year in the Senate, and I'm so grateful for my colleagues on the committee led by Senator Cardin, really have fought to make the SBA work for everyone. And I'm grateful that we have tried to focus a lot of our energy on the smallest of businesses. And so if I could just quickly put a question to Associate Administrator Rivera. It seems that, compounding the access issues that underserved entrepreneurs face, SPA programs like EIDL were unable to meet the needs of small business owners because they were understaffed and have faced a lot of unresponsiveness. There weren't the right protocols and guidance in place to prevent massive fraud, diverting funds away from legitimate businesses. And so as a result, very small businesses have been left waiting, and in some cases are still waiting. And so I appreciate your commitment to identifying and rectifying the problems identified by the IG and the GAO and Administrator Guzman. But I'd like to hear a little bit more about the steps the SBA is taking to ensure that the additional $35 billion in EIDL funding is really going to go to those who need it most.
Thank you, Senator, for your question. So we put these internal controls in place, as a friendly reminder. When CARES was issued, one of the most significant internal controls that we always rely on is the tax transcript and the credit elsewhere test, both which were by statute not allowed under CARES. We relied on self-reported income. We had an algorithm that was pretty straightforward, but we did realize, as Mike Wares highlighted, and as Bill Shears commented also, that there were opportunities for identity theft. We have been working very closely with the IG and with all of the different lenders and with the regulatory agencies on how to address identity theft and how to work through those processes. But in the meantime, what we're also doing on a parallel track is we're reaching out with as many communities as we can to hit those pockets that you're talking about that generally don't get hit. We have a lot of parallels in the disaster program. For example, when there's a disaster that goes through a certain community, we do a lot of outreach at the local level with the chambers of commerce, with the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, with the Black Chambers of Commerce, and we go through those different areas, and we're committed to reaching out to those underserved communities, Black, brown, so forth and so on. So if there's pockets that we're not reaching out, please let us know. We'll be glad to be reaching out to those different areas.
Yeah, and I know my team and I will have some thoughts about not just the outreach, but to make it even more effective. If I can go really quickly in the remaining moments I have to Associate Administrator Kelly, we have really savage disparities of wealth that fall along racial lines, and it's a reflection of an awful history of African Americans being excluded from so many of the wealth building opportunities we've seen in our nation, from the land grant programs that excluded Blacks that helped so many American immigrants get large tracts of land, all the way to redlining, mortgage discrimination, and more. I know you're familiar with this and have witnessed the difficulties that Black borrowers have faced in accessing capital in general in the decades, in recent decades. In 2015, you talked about the economic fallout of that downturn, of the last downturn, where you said borrowers hardest hit by the '08 housing crisis are the last to see a recovery come to them. And so looking forward, as we emerge from this economic and public health crisis. I'm wondering, what steps do you think the SBA should be taking to mitigate the impact of this recession for minority owners? And in addition, the important SBA provisions in the ARP include a number of important stabilizers, from direct payments to extended UI to rental assistance to tax cut for families. How do you anticipate that those provisions might help for a more equitable recovery?
Thank you, Senator. This is as you point out, is a systemic problem. It's a longstanding issue. It is a top priority for the Biden-Harris administration, and in particular for Administrator Guzman. Part of the reason that I came back to serve for Administrator Guzman is to attack this particular issue that you described. In particular, I think that the solution that we are architecting to around the restaurant program will prove as a template for the type of technology tools that we can leverage to create the type of platform to originate programs supporting small dollar loans to give scale to this particular problem. The nature of the problem is such that at a local level, the funds that do the most good just aren't simply enough to meet the demand. And they are limited in terms of their resources to deploy that. And so there's only so many fundraisers that they can fund. There's not enough assets to draw down against on a warehouse line. There's not enough technical assistance, staff to employ. So we need to bring the full weight of the SBA to bear on this. Historically, we have tried through lending intermediaries. It has had mixed results. And so I'd love to continue this dialogue with this committee and any member of the staff or anybody to start to really think transformatively about this issue.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate the time.
Thank you, Senator Booker. Senator